Yeah. Can you hear it? Turn your phone off.
Jesus Christ.
Well, you can, really?
Really? It's gonna come right in here. There it is.
You should be able to see Vincent and Steph.
Today is Monday, January 25th, 2022, and I call this meeting to order. If we could have Pastor Steve Cornella from the Public Christian Center, and if everybody would stand and please stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I don't know how to make it any
Thank you
bigger.
for inviting.
Yeah.
It's good.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you so much, Lord, for this wonderful country that we live in, that we have a representative form of government. Father, we thank you for this beautiful city of Pueblo, Lord, that we call home. And Lord, we thank you for our city council. Lord, we thank you for our Mayor Gradishar. We thank you for all of our police officers, our first responders, our EMTs, our firefighters, and Father, all who serve in the city of Pueblo. And Father, we would just ask, Father, for your hand of grace. We would ask for your hand of mercy, Lord, upon each and every one here. Lord, we ask for your grace and wisdom tonight, Lord, in all the decisions that, Lord, that you would be honored. And Lord, we just thank you so much, Father, for all of your blessings. And God, we just ask your mighty hand would move throughout Pueblo and to see your grace and mercy. And we ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
I don't know how to make
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't know how to make it any bigger.
I think it's fine. I think it's okay.
Good.
Where are you going? They're gonna.
Hey, roll call.
You two get in the screen. They don't know me from Jack the Ripper.
Oh, sit here.
No. What happened to sound now?
Larry Tencio,
Here.
Heather Graham. Here. Gemma Maestri. Here. Dennis Flores.
Here.
Lori Winter. Here. Vicente Martinez Ortega.
Here.
Sarah Martinez. Excuse tonight. I don't know. She's switching it up tonight on us. Okay. Moving on to special recognitions. Do we have Josephine Montera's family here tonight? If you want to come up to the podium, and then she's on Zoom as well.
Maybe that's them zooming me. I mean, I don't know why I would be getting all these text messages now. This is your group.
So I am
Not able
presenting
to
minutes
do
on
it
behalf
while
of
it's
Mayor
live.
Gradishar. This is the oral proclamation.
Go back and click it again. It's
Just
forward
being
back.
Montero.
Just
I
Gina and
can
Cheryl
hear
talking.
you.
It's your children.
July 27, 2022. Whereas Josephine Montero is a Pueblo native born July 27, 1920 to Charles and Christine Guatemala. Josephine graduated from Pleasantville High School in 1939. Josephine met her husband of 75 years, Ralph Montero, at a political rally in 1938 at Pueblo City Hall. They married April 21st, 1940. Today she celebrates her 102nd birthday. Whereas Josephine is the youngest of 7 children, was born and raised in Puebla and grew up on a farm where she learned strong work ethic, Italian cooking, and how to drive a stick shift around the age of 12. Whereas Ralph and Josephine started on their life's journey dreaming of owning a business. In 1945, they rented a building on Fairview Avenue and ran a grocery store. 1 year later, in 1946, they purchased the property at Summit and Evans and opened Ralph's grocery store, which they ran and operated until 1979 and now a historical building. Whereas Josephine's daughter, Charlene, and son-in-law, Nick Arricchio, 6 grandchildren and 10 great-grandchildren. She was a member of the church in the Italian club. Josephine is loved by her Colorado and California families. Whereas Josephine credits the street to longevity to 3 simple things: something to do, someone to love, and something to look forward to. Surround yourself with those who love you and always love them more. Now, therefore, I, Heather Graham, the City Council President, on behalf of the Mayor Gratishar, the City of Pueblo do hereby proclaim July 27, 2022 as Josephine Montera Day in the City of Pueblo, Colorado. And I think she's on Zoom tonight. Did you guys have some words of wisdom that you want to enlighten us with?
She said you're on Zoom tonight, so you can talk to her. Tell her. She's waiting for
I
you.
think you might
I'm
be on
on
mute.
for this occasion.
Just once.
You could speak, Mom.
Thank you so much.
She said, thank you so much for this honor. Hello?
Is it working?
I don't know. Hello? She said, thank you so much for this honor. Hello? She said, thank you so much for this honor. Should we push chat?
Yeah.
See what happens when you push that. There. Uh-uh.
Talk, Jojo.
Talk. You're going to say thank you so much for this. Okay, there you go. Now you could talk.
Thank you so much for giving me this honor today. Thank you.
Okay, call. And you hold the speaker too. Yeah. Up to the microphone. I didn't see that big deal.
Can they hear you?
Can you hear her?
Josephine, we're gonna give you a call because your speaker isn't working. We're
Okay,
gonna call your cell phone, okay?
all right. It says unmute.
That's off.
They're gonna give you a call
Oh, wait a
on
minute.
the phone. It says unmute. We did that. That's muted there. Is that, can you hear us now?
Volume up. Where's your volume?
That's her cell phone. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
Okay, we're coming.
okay.
Yes. Here we go, Stephanie.
You're on speaker. We're gonna pull the speaker to the microphone.
Okay, I don't know, it said unmute on our screen. I don't know why it didn't work. You can
Okay,
tell-
Josephine, take it away. Tell us the secret.
Thank you so much for giving me this honor.
They want to know your secrets.
My secret, I have a beautiful daughter and husband that take excellent care of me.
Great. Well, happy birthday, and we're so happy we could dedicate this day to you in Pueblo.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations on 102.
Thank you. Bye. They made it work till they got you to speak. We couldn't make it to work on
I
the
don't
screen.
understand why it wouldn't.
I don't
work.
either, Nick. It says here, built-in site, choose the visual background, video setting. And then it said, when we started it, we tested it and it worked.
Video right there.
Okay, next up, we have a public forum.
It was nice. They did it the first thing. Yeah, see, it worked. The mic worked.
And first up, we have Rebecca Robles.
I don't know. We're off there now. Those girls are going crazy. They couldn't see it.
Just,
Flip your, is it on?
yep, you're good.
Okay. Hi, my name is Rebecca Robles. Good evening, everybody. Kwale tonali, buenas noches. I wanted to speak about the Columbus statue. I live, work, and pay taxes here in Pueblo, Colorado, and I really love this town a lot. And often there's people who come to speak at the city council meetings, and they say that we should use our tax dollars, our public money to protect that statue and like put up cameras or, other things like that. And I would just like to come and speak my truth and share my viewpoint on that, because it would really break my heart if my tax money was used, just protecting that statue, because I do identify as a woman with American Indian ancestry, and I'm Chicana. So that means that my family has been here in this country since before it was the United States. And, we all know that nursery rhyme in 1492, Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and that, he got here and there was just a bunch of naked savages running around. And, according to Columbus's own historical accounts, and according to 8 different sources that I found in this book, Lies My Teacher Told Me About Columbus by James Lowen, there are estimated that there were between 60 million and
Very nice. You did a
were
great
actually
job.
living here in 1492 in the Americas. And what actually happened is that the population was decimated because of plagues, because of slavery, because of warfare. So there were actually a few million people here already, and we did have our own philosophy, we had our own arts, we had our own religion, we had our own civilization. And I'll just read a little piece from this book. And so Christopher Columbus had a brother named Bartolomeu de las Casas, and he summarized Columbus's journals. And so it says here that on Christmas Day, 1492, Columbus's flagship hit rocks off Haiti. Columbus immediately notified the nearest Indian leader, Guacanagari. In Columbus's account summarized by Las Casas, Guacanagari wept and sent all his people from the town with many large canoes to unload the ship. This was done in a very short space of time. So great was the haste and diligence which that king showed. The next day, Guacanagari told Columbus that he had given to the Christians who were on shore 2 very large houses, and that he would give them more if necessary, and as many canoes as they needed to load and unload the ship. Las Casas goes on to quote Columbus's own words. "They are so loyal," says the admiral, "and without greed for what is not theirs. And so above all the others was that virtuous king." So he was actually shipwrecked. The Santa Maria, his ship, was shipwrecked, and the Indians sent their canoes, which were big enough and fancy enough and advanced enough to unload the ship, and they gave them housing. So there's just this false narrative that the Native Americans were uncivilized and that it was the Europeans who came to civilize us. And another thing from this book, it says that in 1927, an organization called the Grand Council Fire of American Indians called school histories unjust to the life of our people. They went on to question, what is civilization? Its marks are a noble religion and philosophy, original arts, stirring music, rich story and legend. We had these. Then we were not savages, but a civilized race. And I'll just, remind you all again that if we're talking about what's civilized and what's not civilized and what's savage and what's not savage, Christopher Columbus was somebody who spread plagues and he practiced slavery. So if that's what we think is representative of civilization, then maybe we do need to have his statue up still. And I love Pueblo. I'm proud of my heritage. And I think that, Italian Americans deserve to be proud of their heritage too. And they have a beautiful cultural heritage to celebrate. I'm just saying, is Christopher Columbus the right person to be representative of that culture? And I'm not saying that we need to take down the statue. I'm just saying, what does it mean if we keep the statue up? And that's all. Thank you.
Ma'am. Okay, next up we have Michelle Garcia and crew.
Paul, and I'm with the United Way of Pueblo County and the Pueblo Mentoring Collaborative. And we have been working alongside Michelle Garcia and House Bill 1451 in planning this year's celebration of Colorado Youth Awareness Week. And this actually started in 2013 as Pueblo Youth Awareness Week. And Jesse Sena, we can thank him for having, this is his brainchild. And so it has expanded to a statewide celebration. And in fact, today on the steps of the courthouse in Denver, we had Albany Cordova from Pueblo representing our youth reading the governor's proclamation. So it's very exciting to kick off that event. But we're here to talk to you today about what the youth of our community have been doing to really make an impact on our community as we're celebrating youth and the achievements that they've been making. They've been working very hard, and Michelle and I have had the distinct privilege of working alongside these two young people and several other different student council members in our community who've really spearheaded this movement, this whole week-long celebration, but especially the community service project that's happening this Thursday. And that's what they're here to talk to you about tonight. So I'll turn it over to them.
Hi, good evening, City Council members. I'm Skylar Clark. I am East High School Student Body President. So the two main events that we are showcasing and wanted to talk about are our leadership lunch on Wednesday, which we would like to thank President Graham for hosting at Graham's Grill. And we'd also like to thank Councilman Martinez Ortega for being a part of the event. We would also like to talk about the positivity event that we have at Pause this Thursday, and I'll hand that over to Mason to talk to you about.
Hi, I'm Mason Stanley. I'm a part of Pueblo West High School's Student Council representative. So this Pueblo's Youth Spreading Positivity event, it'll be July 28th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And it's at the Pause Animal Shelter itself, just off of Pueblo Boulevard. And so all in all, this event is a competition in collaboration with all Pueblo District 70 and 60 high schools. And our ultimate goal is we assigned each high school their own animal to get adopted. And with that being our main goal in mind, to not just get those few animals selected, adopted, but we wanted to get even more, potentially even fostered or adopted. And at this event, we will have a dunk tank with a representative from each high school to bring even more students into this event to get them invested. So like you could dunk your t-shirt, that sounds fun. And so we'll also have a cleanup at this event. There was a fire, which I will get into more later. And there is also going to be a social media competition, and there's going to be snow cones, games, cornhole competitions, just a lot of fun at this event. And so why Pause? Why did Pueblo Youths in Leadership choose to recognize Pause as a organization in need? And being a nonprofit 501c3 organization, we needed to benefit our community on the biggest level that we could possibly imagine. Even though it's local, it's still our responsibility to make an impact and benefit our community. And so now I'll send it back to Skylar to talk about some of our animals and how the community can help us.
Yeah, so one of the animals that East is actually sponsoring is named Goose, and he's a pit bull. He was dropped at Pause when he was 4 months old for no reason really, and they still haven't adopted him out. And that's one of our goals, is to get him adopted and find him a forever home. There were also, COVID impacted everyone. It also impacted pets. So one family, the father, I believe, died. So they could not care for the dog anymore. So they had to give him up, and Pause took the dog in, and they're also finding him a forever home. So it's really important that we chose Pause because they're not only helping pets in our community, but also families in our community.
So back to this fire, about a year ago, there was a fire that got so close to the shelter that we had to evacuate every single one of the animals at the shelter to somewhere that's a little bit safer. And so being a nonprofit organization, Pause depends on our community for volunteers to help with any situation in general, not just emergencies like this. And so that is why we are asking for more people to come benefit us at this event on the 28th, and not even just this event, but the whole week in general. And so I will send it back to Skylar and what our ultimate goal is.
Yes, so our goal is to raise as much money and donations for PAWS as possible. Our goal is $5,000. And like Mason said, we've been selling tickets, each high school, as a competition between schools. And right now it's very tense between East and Pueblo West. And our goal is 5,000 and we're about $1,000 short. So we really need to get those donations in to help PAWS and the community.
Yes, it'll be a 5-ticket purchase to come to this event on the 28th. And we will be, student council representatives will be pre-selling the tickets for the event, but you could also purchase a ticket at the door of the event.
Yeah, so we would love for city council to stop by, buy a ticket, or just see what it's all about, even drop off donations that day. And the PAWS event is from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at PAWS, which is 800 North Pueblo Boulevard. Thank you.
Great. Thank you guys so much. Okay, next up we have Aubrey Adams.
Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you. Hi, I'm Aubrey Adams. I'm director of an organization called Every Brain Matters. And just to remind you, I had to get my kids out of Pueblo if they were going to survive the drug culture here. And I'm happy to be presenting to you more of my story next Monday. And to anybody online or who's listening, I ask you to please come and support me next week. It's not easy to tell my story, but I'm willing to do it to help wake Pueblo up. I was listening to some of the comments earlier about open consumption of alcohol. I'm concerned about Pueblo, that nothing's really changed, that we're still focused on drug promotional policies instead of drug prevention and drug recovery policies. So I don't correlate wholesome family activities with drinking and drugging. And I can tell you from a person who lived here, raised their kids here, and then lived out of the community for the past 4 years, families don't want to come to Pueblo and raise their kids. They want a community that embraces the health and safety of our communities. So addiction, substance use disorder is really a pediatric disease. That's where it starts. Mental illness is really a pediatric disease. And we need to start putting our children and our community first and not allowing the expansion of drug use. The state legislator is going to be voting on hallucinogens now to legalize and commercialize all hallucinogens, not just mushrooms. And that is on the state ballot this November. So you need to ask yourself, where do you hold the line? The Drug Policy Alliance will keep pushing drug expansion. They want all drugs legalized and commercialized, and they want them on the corners of our neighborhoods and people growing and using drugs next door to us. I was part behind the scenes of getting HB 1317 passed at the state level. On May 18th, 2021, Colorado Speaker of the House, Alec Garnett, held a press conference to introduce this bill. Regulating marijuana concentrates is a grassroots bipartisan bill supported by over 50 organizations. Republicans and Democrats worked together. First time I've seen them work together. It was beautiful to witness. I encourage that to continue here on a local level. The Speaker of the House said they needed to pass this bill. Individuals are being able to buy 40 grams of high potency concentrates from every dispensary they can get to before the close of the business. And the concerns are that those products are being peddled to the black market and to high school campuses across Colorado. So we had to get this correction bill because the industry has a lot of loopholes that they're harming people and they're not being regulated. Philip Weiser, Colorado Attorney General, said the rise of teenage use of high potency concentrate THC marijuana is a critical public health challenge that demands action. The Colorado Healthy Kids Survey reported that students who are dabbing THC went from 4.3% of students in 2015 to over 20% in 2019. This is an alarming rise. Medical marijuana laws have enabled this troubling trend. And I can tell you, the youth that are using these products, these high concentrated THC products, all will be harmed. They can get better if they stop using, but they will never be the same. THC does cause psychosis. And out of all the drugs that cause a psychotic episode, hallucinogens do the same thing. THC has the highest conversion rate to schizophrenia. This is one of the ads that is going in the Chicago Tribune that I made. That a sponsor saying, I like that ad, we want to put it in there. The Chicago Tribune would not put this in their newspaper if it wasn't true based on science. My friend who used to live here in Colorado, Lafana Pacheco, and was a social worker here, she stated at the press conference for HB 1317, our children are being used as sacrificial lambs. My daughter became distant, isolated, like a spell of addiction. Her friends described her as being on crack, but she was on THC. I had my daughter's best interest at heart, but other people did not. So I would like to thank you for listening to me. I will continue to show up and provide as much education. I appreciate you all listening to me. And Regina Monstri, thank you for inviting me to give more of my story.
Thank you, Ms. Adams. And our last public forum tonight is Jim Majak.
I had approached you guys on July 11th about this whole Truman stuff.
Be able to have a seat tonight for us. Thank you so
Sure,
much.
I could be better on my knee, believe it or not, ma'am.
Appreciate it.
How's your food at your restaurant? I gotta come try it. I love to cook. On July 11th, I approached you guys to ask you guys for some help. All this stuff about JJ and about Truman and stuff like that, I have the documentations and the scars to prove all this stuff is done to myself. That's all I've ever asked for is 10%, clear back from the sale of original comic books. The money, the $100,000 was deposited in my mom's account in July, or right around July of 1975. And all the old original inventions and stuff like that has made trillions of dollars. Even at my 10%, and if you guys help work with me, I know we might have to make a few arrests just to kind of show them, hey, we're serious about this. To either hire iHeart or announce it to the Denver Broncos. The sale of the Denver Broncos was $1.4 billion 3 years ago. I agreed to kind of go through some honorary stuff. They now sold it for $4.65 billion. But just a 10% of my profit of their raising them up is $335 billion or $335 million, excuse me, folks. All this stuff we can now take this from audio to video with our own PBS station here. JJ's everywhere. Everybody wants to be JJ, but they kind of turned into something slanderous. Let's get it back in perspective. I now have basically about 520 new inventions. Like I told you the last time I was here, Malin T. White through Ronna Ruskovich approved me for $125 million when I was 21 years old. Gene Sloan and Rick Johnson through Power Credit Union approved me for $15 million, like I said, which was called the camera stick back then. I'm good at what I do. I don't know why my brain kicks the way it does. I guess it's just because growing up poor, I had to learn how to, well, back in the day, they called it Afro-American engineering. My family, we called it Bojan ingenuity because we were poor and had to fix stuff. I'm real good at coming up with fixes and making good things happen. My birth father was James John Alvarez. He did run the corporation in the 70s, 80s, and 90s in California. We used to get free tickets all the time to go there. The last time we were there, he offered me the blonde Stretch Armstrong doll. He asked me if I had any more ideas. I said, that's how I get my 10%. I even told him that when I was 9 years old. We can't collect this. And well, this started here in Pueblo. I can't do this without you guys. And I also can't do this without the help of Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs has got the technical support by the people with the skills on some of my inventions. One of my inventions, basically hospitals get sued $1.2 trillion a year for hospital bed falls. My own father-in-law, our stepfather, Herman Neely, fell 3 times in the hospital. Partly didn't want to pay him. They know they get sued. There's a lot of people that don't even go through with it. My fix for the hospital beds is basically is worth a $1.2 trillion a year business. That's not including all the rest of my patents, and I got 520 of them. I have had the meetings, like I said, with James and John Walden at Cheryl Wingard's house. They do want the food items instead of me suing them for slander, harassment, and defamation of character to get the food items on the shelves. Like I said, the money that I'm owed, I can buy the CFNI. We can do indoor greenhouses because you have to basically rotate the stocks every 90 or every 180 days, because after 180 days on pickling items, no good. So if we grow it hydroponically, we got all this land from here, from Rocky Ford, Manzanola, even in New Mexico, that's flat land with water. We can grow this stuff all year long and put it in these stores and start making us some money. Everybody making money. It's all about instead of everybody else making the money, why don't we here in this town in Springs make the money off something that I've had to go through? I'm just asking you guys for help with this legally. You help me, I'll help the state of Colorado. I'm a guaranteed winner. So I'll let you guys think about it again and see where we want to go and what we can do on this. Okay, you folks. Thank you, folks. God bless you, folks. Let's work together and we can actually start filming this on PBS. By the time the state fair gets here, we get a copy of our birth certificate and say, hey, this is the real deal. We found the real one. It's no longer looking for Waldo.
Thank you, Mr. Majak. Okay, council member and mayor commentary. Ms. Solano, do you have anything from the mayor? Councilor Winter? Councilor Flores? Councilor McStreet?
See that there's a petition circulating for signatures to reduce the marijuana excise tax to zero. But what I don't like about the petition and the language in the petition is that it says that instead of saying what it is, reducing it to zero, what it says, and it was approved, I guess, by our legal and city clerk, it says that
So I will say before you get too far, Councilor Maestri, there is an old version that said the excise tax would go to zero, but there's an updated version that was submitted that should be the one that's properly circulating, that has it as an average of, I believe, Fort Collins, Denver.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Making sure.
So why wouldn't we just leave it at what it is with zero? Why would we have to, why would the voter have to go and do homework on this issue?
It's an initiated ordinance. That was the choice of the people who brought it forward.
Okay, so, well, just to let you know, for those of you who are signing this, it is to take the excise tax, which generates the revenue for the city, the county, and the excise tax to zero. And that's not acceptable. I realize that I think people need to realize that the people that got into the marijuana industry knew the cost of doing business, and they need to accept those costs. Our community is suffering from the ill effects of the legalization of marijuana. I don't care. We now have statistics. We've been in this, we've been undergoing the legalization of marijuana for many years now, and the statistics are developing, and they're the actual facts of how it's affecting our community, how it's affecting our children, how it's affecting the homelessness, and all of the things that are going on, the mental health of people. We all of a sudden wonder, where did all of these people with mental health problems come in? And, you know, Ms. Adams has extended her life to learning about this, studying the statistics around the world, not just here in Pueblo, and has brought light to this situation. So I don't think that we need to be giving our revenue up, because we're the ones that are suffering here in this community, and we should continue generating that revenue to pay whatever we need to do to try to clean it up around here. Thank you.
Councilor Tencio. Councilor Martinez Ortega.
Thank you, Madam President. How's everybody doing tonight? Looking good enough. I would like to report out on a fun project that the Colorado Smelter Revitalization Project is working on. This is going to be one of 2 to 3 murals that are happening here in Pueblo. Today was the very first mural in Bessemer right on Northern and I believe Cedar, on the side of Elledge Music, they're going to be putting up this big mural, which has to do with like a musical theme, having to do with the longtime ownership and investment into the community of Elledge Music. So I'd like to congratulate James Beck with Street Talk PS and thank the Colorado Smelter Revitalization Evaluation Committee for going through the artist, helping pick the composition. And the next one will be started at the Star Bar by Shannon Powers. And so if folks want to go check out this, this current mural going up, it's right on Northern and I believe Cedar. And that'll be happening for the next week or so. So go check that out. That's pretty cool. I'd like to report out on Friday Kids Day at Ray Aguilera Bessemer Park. Last Friday, Pueblo Rocks, Rocky Mountain Service Empowerment Center, and Fire Fit Kids saw a number of folks. We were out there giving backpack, like little school giveaways. We gave 30 of those away. We gave 120 meal kits away. And it was great. We had folks there from Oregon, from the neighborhood, and then just also friends and family of who just have continued to hear about that. So congratulations to some of those folks for providing some great community resources. I'd also like to highlight Angelus Chapel and the McCauley family. You know, I went to the St. Francis Festival this weekend, and on Saturday, I saw the McCauley family back there grilling up the Polish dogs, donating their time. And the whole St. Francis Festival was phenomenal. Live music, cakewalks, ladyfingers. But also one of the reasons why I'm highlighting this family is they also sponsored a Bessemer pool run or pool swim day for kids. And that was 225 kids in Bessemer that were able to swim for free. This was last Wednesday. They are also sponsoring at Mitchell Park, 115 kids. That's the capacity here this Wednesday from 12 to 5. So if you know any youngsters who want to go out swimming, they're accepting 115. Thank you to the McCauley family and Angelus Chapel for providing that for our community. Thanks.
Okay, I don't have anything tonight, so we're gonna review and approve the agenda, and we're gonna go page by page. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4.
I would like to pull these first presentation ordinances N1 through N7 and postpone them for the approval process until we review. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's on. Yeah, it is. I think you just have to get closer.
Review some of the city's needs in this worksheet we've been giving on ARPA pending of proposals. It's my understanding that the library money was taken out of the second tranche when we were told it was to be coming out of the first tranche. I'd like to see what the balance is of the ARPA funds, what the balance is, and not 2 hours before the next meeting either. I'd like to see where the balance is, where we lie with ARPA funds, what the city's needs are, because it looks like there's another 2.4 million, 500,000, 500, before we start continuing with the money. It's nice. We haven't had a balance update in quite a while. So I know that, the transparency on this has been very lacking. We weren't even told. We had to ask about the 750,000 that was returned from the grocery store. And so I think before we do anything that's outside of the city's needs, we should not approve it until we see where we're at balance wise and what we still have ahead of us to look at. So I'm asking that we pull them off the agenda for a later date.
So in pulling them off the agenda, we can either have a specific date or they can be pulled in their entirety. Or that they can be tabled indefinitely and not brought forward again.
Yeah, I would like to pull them at least off for another until the beginning of September. What our first meeting is in September, so that we can review what else is going on here and decide where we want to spend this money. And are we going to hold some money for a while? Because if with the bipartisan infrastructure, we have to have 20% in order to have anything improved in Pueblo. And I think we can, it says one of the sources that we can take that 20% from on any project could come from ARPA funds. Otherwise, we have no other choice but to tax the taxpayers in order to get those things and get projects done in the future.
So September 12th would be the first meeting in September.
Just one thing, Counselor Maestri, some of these things in that first presentation are actually the airport grant. So I think, no, they're all
No, I think
in, did you say in 1 through?
I had 1 through 7.
Oh, I'm sorry. It must be just until in 1, 3.
Okay, in through 7, yep.
We need to vote on that?
We would need to vote on that. If there's apparent disagreement, then I would recommend that we vote just on that rather than bundling together any other motions.
So the motion,
A motion.
Okay, so it's to make sure I have it clear, your motion is to
Hold off until we get a balance.
for items N1 through N7
Correct.
to delay them to the September 12th agenda?
Mhm.
Okay, so that's what I have in the motion.
okay, let's vote on it.
So with a tie, the motion fails.
Continue.
So those will stay on the agenda.
So we were on page 4. 4? Okay, page 5. Page 6.
I would like to see a work session on N14. I know that we were provided with a comprehensive plan and an update for that. I mean, we haven't had an update since the original presentation, and I want to know from the presenter in advance what changes they made on the comprehensive plan, because we have not been forwarded any changes on the comprehensive plan. Yeah, there's a ton of changes.
I can, Madam President, I can schedule the work session and all the changes are attached on this agenda. And I think that the Director of Planning included them in red. They are the attachment behind the ordinance, and the entire plan is attached as well, but we can schedule a work session.
Yes, we'd like a work session.
Thank you.
Okay, page 6. Page 7. Page 8. And page 9. Okay. Nothing further. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve all resolutions set forth in the consent agenda, pass the ordinances of the consent agenda, setting the public hearing Monday, August 8th, 2022,
This is
with the
this is for the consent agenda approval that you're reading. So this would just to clarify, Councilor Maestri's motion as well. That's not to delay the item in any way, correct? It's just to request a work session for it.
Yes.
Okay. So it's just to approve the agenda as distributed.
I motion to approve the agenda as distributed.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote. Passes 6-0. Okay, do I have a motion to dispense?
I move to dispense with the reading and approve the minutes of the regular meeting dated Monday, July 11th, 2022 as distributed.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Passes 6-0. Madam Clerk, consent agenda.
L communications, none submitted. M resolutions. Item M1, a resolution awarding construction contract in the amount of $183,467.50 to Doug Vaughn LLC and setting forth $27,520.50 for contingencies for project number 22-037 Ridge Drive concrete improvements and authorizing the purchasing agent to execute same. Item M2, a resolution awarding an agreement for professional services in the amount of $9,500 to Perpetual Harvest LLC to complete research for the Pueblo Food Project and City of Pueblo on farm to school assessment. Item M3, resolution authorizing the issuance of a revocable permit to the Pueblo Chamber of Commerce for the use of Grand Avenue for City Center Drive to Union Avenue, D Street from Victoria Avenue to Main Street, C Street from Victoria Avenue to Main Street, Union Avenue from City Center Drive to B Street, and Allen Hamill Avenue from Union Avenue to Main Street to host the annual Chilean Frijoles Festival. Item M5, a resolution approving an agreement to donate property and release of claims between the City of Pueblo and Otero County, Colorado, relating to a 10-unit T hangar located at 32101 Walt Bassett Avenue. Item M6, a resolution preliminarily determining that the petition for annexation of the 136-acre area commonly known as the Pastora Ranch Annexation Number 2, generally located southeast of State Highway 78 and south of El Camino Subdivision, 14th filing, is valid under the provisions of the Colorado Revised Statute Section 31-12-104, (1), and 31-12-107, (1), tabling final action on the petition for a period of not more than 180 days, and referring the petition to the Planning and Zoning Commission for review and recommendation. Item M7, a resolution confirming the appointment by the Mayor of Darren Woody Percival to the Pueblo Energy Advisory Committee. Item M8, a resolution confirming the appointment by the Mayor of Heather Graham as the ex officio to the Latino Chamber of Commerce Board. And ordinances, first presentation. Item N1, an ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to sign a subrecipient agreement between the City of Pueblo, Colorado Municipal Corporation, and the Pueblo Regional Building Department, a governmental entity, for premium pay for eligible workers performing essential work as authorized by Section 603, Print C, Print 1, Print B of the American Rescue Plan Act and U.S. Treasury Final Rule 31 CFR 35.6, and authorizing the payment of $23,450.74 from project number CI 2113 American Rescue Plan Act for purposes thereof. Item N2, an ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to sign a subrecipient agreement between the City of Pueblo, Colorado Municipal Corporation, and Sangre de Cristo Hospice and Palliative Care, the Colorado Nonprofit Corporation, as authorized by Section 603 of the American Rescue Plan Act and U.S. Treasury Final Rule 31 CFR 35.6, and authorizing the payment of $37,500 from project number CI 2113 American Rescue Plan Act for purposes thereof. Item N3, an ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to sign a subrecipient agreement between the City of Pueblo, Colorado Municipal Corporation, and the American GI Forum of Pueblo, Colorado Nonprofit Corporation, as authorized by Section 603 of the American Rescue Plan Act and U.S. Treasury Final Rule 31 CFR 35.6, and authorizing the payment of $40,000 from project number CI 2113 American Rescue Plan Act for purposes thereof. Item N4, an ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to sign a subrecipient agreement between the City of Pueblo, Colorado Municipal Corporation, and the Pueblo Symphony Association, Inc., a Colorado nonprofit corporation, was authorized by Section 603 of the American Rescue Plan Act and U.S. Treasury Final Rule 31 CFR 35.6, and authorizing the payment of $75,000 from project number CI 2113 American Rescue Plan Act for purposes thereof. Item N5, an ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to sign a subrecipient agreement between the City of Pueblo, a Colorado Municipal Corporation, and the Senior Resource Development Agency, Pueblo, Inc., a Colorado nonprofit corporation, as authorized by Section 603 of the American Rescue Plan Act and U.S. Treasury Final Rule 31 CFR 35.6, and authorizing the payment of $83,791 from project number CI 2113 American Rescue Plan Act for purposes thereof. Item N6, an ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to sign a subrecipient agreement between the city of Pueblo, a Colorado Municipal Corporation, and the Colorado Mission of Mercy, Inc., a Colorado nonprofit corporation as authorized by Section 603 of the American Rescue Plan Act and U.S. Treasury Final Rule 31, CFR 35.6, and authorizing the payment of $10,000 from project number CI 2113 American Rescue Plan Act for purposes thereof. Item N7, an ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to sign a subrecipient agreement between the city of Pueblo, a Colorado Municipal Corporation, and Habitat for Humanity of Pueblo, Inc., a Colorado nonprofit corporation as authorized by Section 603 of the American Rescue Plan Act and U.S. Treasury Final Rule 31, CFR 35.6, and authorizing the payment of $300,000 from project number CI 2113 American Rescue Plan Act for purposes thereof. And N8, an ordinance approving and accepting Airport Innovation Program AIP grant agreement number 3-08-0046-046-2022 from the United States of America, acting through the Federal Aviation Administration for funds in the amount of $336,670 for costs related to snow removal equipment acquisition for the Pueblo Memorial Airport, authorizing the mayor to execute same, budgeting and appropriating $345,533 to project number AP 2201, awarding the equipment purchase to Wasau Equipment Company and authorizing the purchasing agent to execute same. Item N9, an ordinance approving and accepting Airport Improvement Program AIP grant agreement number 3-08-0046-047-2022 from the United States of America, acting through the Federal Aviation Administration for funds in the amount of $292,877 for costs related to the rehabilitation of runway 8R/26L Phase 1 design at the Pueblo Memorial Airport, establishing project AB 2205 rehab of runway 8R/26L design and construction, budgeting and appropriating $300,585 to said project, approving an agreement between the city of Pueblo, a municipal corporation, and Dibble and Associates Consulting Engineering, Inc., for the engineering design of said project and authorizing the mayor to execute same. Item N10, an ordinance approving a rental agreement for the use of space of an office space between the firefighting reload base at the Pueblo Memorial Airport between the city of Pueblo, a municipal corporation, and the state of Colorado Department of Public Safety, Division of Fire Prevention and Control, and authorizing the mayor to execute same. Item N11, an ordinance approving the assignment of a fuel tank agreement by and between the city of Pueblo, a municipal corporation, Sam C. Brown, and Travel Air Services, Inc., and authorizing the mayor to execute same. Item N12, an ordinance approving the assignment of a hangar ground lease by and between the city of Pueblo, a municipal corporation, Sam C. Brown, and Travel Air Services, Inc., and authorizing the mayor to execute same. Item N13, an ordinance approving a deposit agreement between the city of Pueblo, a municipal corporation, and Legends Subdivision LLC, a Utah Limited Liability Company, Stephanie J. Summers, Dale Majors, and Alan Rose, related to the installation and construction of required public improvements within Rivers Run subdivision, authorizing the mayor to execute said agreement. Item N14, an ordinance approving and adopting the 2022 Pueblo Regional Comprehensive Plan for the Physical Development of Pueblo, a Colorado Municipal Corporation. Item N15, an ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to execute and ratify the mayor's signature to a memorandum of understanding between the city of Pueblo, a Colorado Municipal Corporation, and the president and fellows of Harvard College, acting through the Bloomberg Harvard City Leadership Initiative at the John F. Kennedy School of Government. Item N16, ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to execute an intergovernmental agreement between the city of Pueblo, a Colorado Municipal Corporation, and the Fountain Creek Watershed Flood Control and Greenway District, a political subdivision of the state of Colorado, and Fountain Creek Watershed Water Activity Enterprise relating to the Pueblo Levee System Floodplain Restoration Project. Item N17, an ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to execute a letter of understanding between the city of Pueblo, Colorado Municipal Corporation as buyer, and the Union Pacific Railroad Company, a Delaware corporation as seller, pertaining to the conveyance of real property to facilitate the Pueblo Levee Restoration Project. Item N18, an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2022 staffing ordinance by temporarily adding 2 firefighter positions within the fire department. Item N19, an ordinance amending Chapter 4 of Title 11 of the Pueblo Municipal Code with regards to working goats and imposing new requirements in accordance therewith.
Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve all resolutions set forth on the consent agenda, pass the ordinances of the consent agenda, setting the public hearings for Monday, August 8th, 2022, and order the ordinances to be published by title.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? Call for the vote. Passes 6-0. Madam Clerk, resolutions.
Resolutions Q1, a resolution authorizing payment of funds in the amount of $2 million from project number CI 2113 American Rescue Plan Act for purposes of constructing sewer infrastructure within the city from West 11th Street to West 21st Street as authorized by section 603(c)(1)(d) of the American Rescue Plan Act and final rule 31 CFR 35.6.
May we have a staff report?
Hello. The ARPA money is going to be going through the Public Works Department, so that's why Andrew's joining me tonight for this presentation. The resolution would approve $2 million in ARPA funds to upsize the existing pipe from West 11th to 21st Street. The capacity in the existing line would not allow for the growth in this area of town. The upsizing would be beneficial to multiple developments and facilitate future growth. 3,900 linear feet of pipe would need to be upsized in this area.
As Indra mentioned, the Public Works Department will be handling the construction management for this particular project. I think that concludes our staff report. With that, we'll take any questions.
Okay, great. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Passes 6-0.
Q2, a resolution authorizing payment of funds in the amount of $2 million from project number CI 2113 American Rescue Plan Act for purposes of constructing sewer infrastructure within the city along Northern Avenue between Bandera Parkway and Surfwood Lane, as authorized by section 603(c)(1)(d) of the American Rescue Plan Act and final rule 31 CFR 35.
May we have a staff report?
This extension would allow for the facilitate the development in this area and would allow for infill growth along Northern Avenue. And the extension would be 2,500 feet of line to extend down Northern. And that concludes my part of the staff report.
And again, this is another project that Public Works will take the construction management piece on. And that concludes our staff report.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Oh, Councilor Maestri.
Well, I think at the last meeting that we had, the concerns were, we were doing the first over here on the west side for affordable housing. And the question was, how is this is not affordable housing and we were asking why we were putting the ARPA funds forward. So we've gotten no answers to that. And so I'm sure it's something that, we haven't had an explanation, and I don't even know if you guys have the ability to explain that portion of it. Because we were asking for out of the mayor's office to explain this to us.
So ARPA funds have to be used on sewer infrastructure projects that obviously benefit the system or multiple areas. It is not a project. It can't be projects that benefit a single development or developer. So this particular case, there are multiple developments, including existing subdivisions, which rely on this particular segment. There's a subdivision there that has been dormant since 2004, I believe. That may not be quite right. 2004, 2006, somewhere in that ballpark. And so some of the public improvement costs for that subdivision have been quite extreme. And so in order to spur the development in that area and to support all of the other further development downstream, this project will accomplish those objectives.
You done?
Well, wasn't it supposed to also be in relation to the affordable housing? Or because we don't have any affordable housing going back in that area. I mean, we're told one thing on one side of town and the other side of town, it seems like.
I believe it's an option. I don't believe there's a requirement that any ARPA projects be tied to affordable housing specifically, but it is particularly required that the project not be specific to a particular subdivision or developer.
Well, I appreciate that, Andrew, because I appreciate that it doesn't have to do with affordable housing. So I don't know why affordable housing was brought up on one topic and not the other.
Councilor Martinez Ortega.
Thank you, Madam President. I will be voting no on this resolution because I don't think that we should be subsidizing $500,000 homes. The end. That's what my argument was. Is I don't think that we should be subsidizing homes over here that are at the affordable rate of $285,000, and then we move across town to a very well-to-do area that has $500,000 homes, and I can't vote for subsidizing $500,000 homes.
Any further discussion? Oh, Counselor Forrest?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with this. This isn't a new phenomenon. This is not a new issue. This is a very old issue. And it all really started with a church, and that was the Church of the Rockies, I believe they're called. They purchased a very large piece of land to the south of Imperial Memorial Cemetery. And lo and behold, they purchased the land, and I don't know, it could be 7 or 8 years they've owned that land, and it's impossible for them to move forward to build the church as a result of all the infrastructure that they would have to pay. Bandera was supposed to be a 4-lane road, 2 on each side. And so there's also been developers that want to develop the area to the east of Bandera. And as I understand, this extension will provide the impetus for the Jackson Ranch to maybe tie in from the west down to this line, as I understand. Whether or not, when we started doling out money on ARPA, you could have made an argument when we helped businesses in town or when we helped other communities that we didn't ask them, what their net worth was or all of that. I believe that this is something that is needed. It may not be low-income housing, but I mean, there are houses in that area that have been selling recently for $350. And I'm talking about, and I know of 6 of them right now that were sold for $360 and are in that area. So I know it's not just, $500,000 homes. I mean, we need at this point to help and spurn economic development and the building of homes. There's a huge gap in this community for homes, whether they're in the 280 range, 360, even 500,000. It amazes me what you can get for 500,000. It's not what you could, in the past. But I'll be voting yes on this just because I think we need to keep the impetus of adding additional housing to our community.
Counselor Tencio?
Mr. Hayes, can you tell us again what this sewer line is going to do for city infrastructure? Not necessarily developers?
Right. So this is obviously going to be an extension of the sewer line that will facilitate future expansion to the south along the Northern Avenue corridor. So this particular segment of line stretches from Bandera to Surfwood. It's about 2,500 linear feet. The size of that line is still being determined based on flows that we're expecting from the downstream developments, but it obviously connects those communities to the wastewater treatment plant all the way across town. So this is an important piece of the puzzle in terms of supporting development in that southwest corner of town. I hope that answers your question.
Just say again that it's not going to benefit any particular.
That's correct. There's no single developer or development. This is Northern Avenue Highway 78 is a main transportation corridor. It's the right of way through which utilities pass. It is a trunk line that will serve multiple communities there.
Counselor Maestri?
So it's an offsite improvement. And how do cities normally handle these situations? Because we obviously want growth. We obviously want development. And I know that when the subdivision ties in, why is it because I'm being led to believe that these offsite improvements, that the developer has to go beyond just the tie-in financially responsible in order to increase the line. Is that normally how municipalities do that? Because I mean, there's got to be some responsibility on the city's part to provide adequate lines to tie into.
Sure. So there's a range of ways. I mean, the city can make a business decision to invest and support the common infrastructure.
Mhm.
It would not, I would say it's not common for the city to go and invest in a specific subdivision for the infrastructure, right? But for making sure that subdivisions have the connections they need, that's not an unusual thing.
Mhm.
I would not say it's common every single time. But in this particular case, it is an offsite improvement that's required and it is a common common piece of infrastructure again that supports several developments, several unannexed places so far, an existing subdivision that has not built out. So there's again a range of different subdividers and developers and communities are going to benefit from this particular project.
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, any other discussion? Councilor Tencio?
Yeah, during our discussion, I asked that we compare what the developers, because they do offsite infrastructure in a lot of cases, what the difference in the cost of homes were going to be in these developments. And basically $2 million worth. So the cost of homes is going to be $2 million less for the whole thing. So I think that's the benefit. Also, too, I don't know that we would be putting in the city would be putting in these two projects, the one on the west side and this one here, if it weren't for the American Rescue Plan. Let's take advantage of the American Rescue Plan. It's not coming next year. It's not coming the year after. It didn't come the year before. So using this money, by which, like Mr. Flores said, spurring more economic development, there's going to be a lot of people building those houses. There's going to be a lot of materials that are going to be bought here in town. I think it's a win-win situation. I like Mr. Ortega said, I'm not in favor of subsidizing high-end homes either. But in this case, the win is there. There's a win-win for everyone. And it's money that we didn't have before and we won't have again.
Okay, call for the vote. Passes 5-1.
Item Q3, a resolution awarding construction contract in the amount of $736,327.40 to KR Swidfigure Inc. and setting forth $147,265 for contingencies for project number 22-048 WWAN-01 fiscal year 2022 small main lining project and authorizing the purchasing agent to execute same.
May we have a staff report?
So this resolution is for the sites of this project are off of the priority list of deteriorating sanitary sewer mains. All the sites in the project were taken from the list due to their structural deficiencies. And they were all rated 5 and above on the NASCO rating, which determines how severe the deterioration is of the pipes. To protect the public interest, these mains require rehabilitation. This project will consist of cleaning and lining 5,085 linear feet of 8-inch sewer line, reinstate 156 tap connections, and rehabilitate the adjacent manholes associated with this project. The lining will take place at 11 different sites around the city. That's the end of my staff report. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve? Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Passes 6-0.
Item Q4, resolution authorizing payment from the council contingencies account in the 2022 general fund budget to Assistance League of Pueblo Inc. in the amount of $1,000 to support its annual fundraiser.
I'll give the staff report on this one. This was an ask from Assistance League of Pueblo for the $1,000 for their holiday fashion preview and luncheon. It's taking place Saturday, December 3rd at the Convention Center. some of the stuff that they'll be able to provide after this is school clothes, hygiene kits, and age appropriate gifts. And to this year, they've supported more than 40,000 students. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to
Motion to
approve the
approve.
resolution.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Call for the vote. Passes 6-0.
R ordinances final presentation, item R1, public hearing and ordinance budgeting and appropriating funds from the 1992-2026 sales and use tax capital improvement projects fund, the amount of $145,000 to the general fund to reimburse the general fund for contractual payments made to Tatiana Bailey, PhD, DBA Peak Analytics Consulting to develop a Pueblo monthly economic dashboard, introduced July 11th, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez.
May we have a staff report?
Yes, Madam President and City Council, on June the 13th, just last month, by ordinance, City Council approved the consulting agreement for the economic dashboard with Dr. Bailey. On that same evening, City Councilor Lori Winter requested that an ordinance be prepared for consideration by City Council this evening, which would reimburse the general fund or for the contractual agreement of the $145,000 from the half-cent economic development fund. And this ordinance before you presents that for your consideration. And that does conclude staff's report.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve? Do I have a second? Any discussion? Counselor
Yes,
Flores?
lots of discussion on this. This was a budget item that I brought forth last year, and it was done through our regular budget process. And so the last city council voted 7-0 to take the money from the general fund, which is what I wanted to do. The money was set aside. There was really no consideration given at that time that we would use the half-cent sales tax for this. And I think there was some confusion that the dashboard was going to be simply a tool that Petco would be using, which is not true. If you look at the dashboard, it has much more information, the job creation focus. The dashboard provides median prices of homes. It provides workforce development. It provides unemployment rate. It also shows a huge gap skill that we have in the community. So I'm in opposition of going back and rearranging the funding on this by moving money back and forth. And we're so close to having our audit done. Why are we going to go back now and kind of move Peter to pay Paul? So, well, can I finish?
Yeah.
You know, my opposition on this. The other thing is that, you know, there's so many other things that are provided by the dashboard that really don't affect this half-cent sales tax. So if we approve this, we're really utilizing money for information that has nothing to do with the job creation piece. So, you know, I just think it's you know, kind of a wasted time to be doing this at this stage of the game. And by the way, Laura, you voted along with the rest. I mean, we all thought it was a good idea, 7-0.
Yeah, I mean, I've thanked you several times for bringing this forward, and
Not that I need thanks, but
Well,
all I'm saying
yeah,
is why do we want to go back?
I had mentioned in workshop and also before we voted that this should be a Petco expense. So, you know, it's out there for people to vote. That's it. We move money all the time around, so it's not a big deal if the public's watching.
Any further discussion? Sorry. Yeah, you can't ask any questions.
You can recall him on if he wants to speak for or against.
Right.
You can, you have a prerogative to let someone speak. If you want. For or against?
Did you want to speak in? Oh, if you can. Just, Sarah will have to have you sworn in, so
Please raise your right hand.
if you can just,
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give before the Pueblo City Council is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please state your name for the record.
Carl.
Collar Roller?
Carl.
Roller. Thank you. Roy? Okay.
I'm just curious about the last proposal brought up there. The $147,000 is being paid to a consulting firm. Is that, do I get that correctly? All right, and what are you getting out of this $147? 47,000, of course.
sir, you can, at this time, you are just allowed to make a statement if you're in favor or against it. The 147,000 is for an economic dashboard.
Right. Well, I'm just wondering if I'm wondering what they're actually paying for. This is nothing but a consulting firm coming up with their views on how to go about something. And I said it's a dashboard. So that sounds kind of like just a computer application. Is that what you're actually buying off this?
It's just an online dashboard that the public can log on to and, see where we are. It has things like jobs, medium income, education, housing. It's on our city website, and you can find the link to get directly to that, and it's updated once a month. So this is in reference to that contract.
But prior to now, that didn't exist? Or?
Right. Yep.
Okay, well, I guess I'll have to look at it and see what I think.
Okay. Well, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Okay. Is there any other further discussion? I'm also going to be voting against this. I don't ever want to undermine what the previous council did. And moving forward after this year, I don't want to see it come out of the general fund. And I hope that Petco does plan to pay up for it, or we can find another source of income, whether that's small businesses getting together and paying for this, because it is a tool for the business community. But I don't want to undo something that the previous council already did. Call for the vote. One to five, it fails.
Item R2, public hearing and ordinance amending zoning restrictions to rezone 0.34 acres located at 520 West 13th Street from R5 mixed residential and office district to B2 sub-regional business district, introduced July 11, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted 7-0 on June 8th, 2022 to recommend approval.
May we have a staff report?
Yes, Madam President. Scott Hobson with the Planning Department. The applicant is seeking to open a retail store in an existing building that is currently in an R5 zone district. And the use for the retail store is not currently allowed in the R5 zone district. The building is at 520 West 13th Street. It was a long time the home of the Salvation Army operation, and it has sat empty for a number of years. The property has areas for public parking on both the east and the west sides of the lot. It has alley access and 2 curb cuts along 13th Street for access to parking. This ordinance would change the zoning from an R5 to a B2 business sub-regional business zone district. There are multiple B1 and B2 properties that are zoned that are located immediately to the west on 13th Street and along Elizabeth Street to the north and south of this property. So it's consistent with other businesses that are in this neighborhood area of the city. The existing building does not meet the current front setback or the rear setback for a B2 zone district. The applicant has applied for a variance with the Zoning Board of Appeals to receive a variance to allow for not complying with those setbacks. The Zoning Board of Appeals approved the variances to the front and rear yard setbacks at their meeting on June 28th, 2022. So that variance has been approved. That concludes my report. And then, Madam President, staff requests that all documents from the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding this matter, case number Z2208, dated June 8th, 2022, be made part of the record for this hearing.
So ordered. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
We have a second. Any discussion? Counselor Flores?
Mr. Hobson, this was the property that was also used as a warming shelter at one time, or a homeless shelter.
That's correct.
Okay, so I think I know what building it is. I think previously it was used by Colorado Blue Sky, which was years ago. But what is the intent of this of the conversion of this building, if there is an intent at this point?
It's to operate a retail store. My understanding from the testimony with the Planning and Zoning Commission that it's for memorabilia and those kinds of sales. And we actually had, I think we had nearly 10 representatives in favor of this application at the Planning and Zoning Commission, and many of them testified in support of being able to operate this business.
And were they people from the neighborhood, do you think?
They were, what originally happened with this business is they initially opened the business and did not secure a business license. So once that was determined, then they had to cease operations, and then they commenced with the rezoning to the B2 zone district, which would allow for the business to reopen.
That would probably be a better situation, because as you know, there was a lot of neighborhood discussion at the time that the homeless shelter was there. They had a lot of problems with it. We had a lot of neighbors that were here, opposed to that. And I'm assuming that this occupancy is much more palatable to the neighborhood.
So as part of the public outreach for the zoning application, we send notices to all properties within 300 feet of this property. We have not received any negative comments back from any of the adjacent property owners to be able to rezone this to a B2 zone district.
Thank you.
It's also like a little social lounge too, isn't it?
It is, it's being used for some social functions. Although the B2 zone district is for retail sales in neighborhoods, and that's what this application is being requested tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, call for the vote. Passes 6-0.
Item R3, public hearing and ordinance amending zoning restrictions to rezone lots 22, block 3, Sunset Park 6 filing totaling 0.85 acres from R5 multiple residential and office district to R6 multiple residential and commercial district. Introduced July 11, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted 7-0 on June 8, 2022 to recommend approval.
May we have a staff report?
Yes, Madam President. The property is located west of South Prairie Avenue and north of Amherst Avenue. It's located west of the State Fairgrounds in the Sunset Park subdivision, 6 filing. The 0.85 acre site is comprised of a single undeveloped parcel. The preliminary site plan that has been submitted for development with the includes a proposed laundromat along Amherst Avenue and apartments located behind the laundromat on the north side of the property. The property to the north of where the proposed apartments would be located is also residential. Any commercial development, the laundromat would be along Amherst, which would be adjacent to the Sunset Shopping Center. The proposed laundromat and residence, multifamily residents are both a use by right in the multiple residential and commercial district. That's the R6 district. The applicant is requesting to construct a new laundromat facing Amherst Avenue. The laundromat will be a 3,000 square foot single-story building, will house 80 to 90 washing machines and dryers for patrons to use. Behind the laundromat will be a 2-story apartment building, which will provide 8 new apartments. The proposed apartment building is approximately 7,200 square feet. Each apartment has the same floor plan, they will have about approximately 900 square feet per apartment. Based on the proposed site plan, the laundromat and apartments have the appropriate number of parking spaces required under the city municipal code. The applicant currently owns multiple residences and laundromats in Pueblo, which include the Lady Fair Laundromat at 1140 South Prairie Avenue. The applicant states that his intent is to locate the Lady Fair Laundromat on this property and move it from the Sunset Shopping Center area. That concludes my report. Madam President, staff requests that all documents from the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding this matter, case number Z2207, dated June 8, 2022, be made part of the record for this hearing.
So ordered. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none. Anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote. Passes 6-0.
Item R4, public hearing and ordinance vacating a portion of the platted alley right-of-way located within block 362 Wiley and Chamberlain subdivision, introduced July 11, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted 7-0 on May 11, 2022 to recommend approval.
May we have a staff report?
Yes, Madam President. The purpose of this vacation request is to create a new single lot for a commercial development of a business site. The proposed alley right-of-way runs from the west to the east and dead ends into the right-of-way for Portland Avenue. This property is located, it is to the east of the intersection of Portland Avenue and Joplin. So it's adjacent to, just to the east of where the rivers run. New subdivision is being proposed to be developed. There is no access to any of the properties other than the applicants. This vacation will create a more buildable parcel and eliminate residual slivers of the land. That concludes my report. Madam President, staff requests that all documents from the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding this matter, case number V2202, dated May 11, 2022, be made part of the record for this hearing.
So ordered. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none. Anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none. Do I have a motion to approve?
I move to approve.
Do we have any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Oh, Counselor Winter? Or I'm Counselor Maestri.
So when we vacate the alley portion, does that landowner, as it's redesigned, do they get to keep that? Who owns the alley right now?
It's a public right of way, so it's deeded to the public. If an alley is vacated and there are different property owners on each side of the alley, half of the alley that's vacated goes to one owner and half of the alley goes to the other owner. If the same owner owns both sides of the alley, then that property owner receives that full width of the right of way for the alley. So their new legal description would be what they currently own in their legal description, and then the county would add plus the vacated alley, and they would give a description of what that vacated alley, that would be added to their legal description. So that would become their property.
It would become their property, and right now it belongs to the public.
Yes.
There's no dollar amount associated with that?
No. By code, if you vacate an alley or vacate a road, There isn't a dollar value that's paid because it's dedicated to the public. It isn't dedicated to the city.
Okay. What type of business is going to be built there?
It's what they have proposed is a marijuana grow facility.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, call for the vote. Passes 5-1.
Item R5, public hearing and ordinance approving and accepting a grant agreement and applicable conditions pertaining thereto with the State of Colorado Department of Law Peace Officer Standards and Training Post establishing project number PS 2206, budgeting and appropriating funds in project PS 2206, authorizing the mayor to execute same and ratifying his prior signature thereto, introduced July 11, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez.
May we have a staff report?
Good evening, Council. R6 is an ordinance approving and accepting a grant agreement with the State of Colorado Department of Law Peace Officer Standards and Training, or POST, in the amount of $193,997. This funding provides for training through the Central Mountain Training Region, or CMTR, which we are the fiscal agent for, and provides training to 40 different law enforcement agencies in the region. In addition to furnishing this training, which we and others benefit from, the money pays for some staffing costs to do the fiscal responsibilities. That's staff's report, and I'm ready to answer any questions.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none, any discussion? Okay. Counselor Flores, your mic's on. Did you have something? Oh, okay. Okay, all right, call for the vote. Oh. Do we have a motion to approve? We have a second? Any discussion? Call for the vote. Passes 6-0.
Item R6, public hearing and ordinance approving and accepting a grant funding agreement and all applicable conditions pertaining thereto from the Colorado Auto Theft Prevention Authority, CATPA, relating to the Beat Auto Theft through Law Enforcement Battle Team, establishing project number PS 2207, budgeting and appropriating funds to project number PS 2207, and authorizing the mayor to execute same, introduced July 11, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez.
May we have a staff report?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Council President, members of council. R7, again, is an ordinance approving and accepting grant funds from Colorado Auto Theft Prevention Authority, or CAPA, related to the Beat Auto Theft through Law Enforcement Battle Team that we participate in. This grant of funding awards $76,271 in funds for equipment and overtime related to auto theft investigation and enforcement. We have been a part of and benefited from this multi-jurisdictional group since 2009. That is staff's report. I'm available to answer any questions.
This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve? Do we have a second? Any discussion? Councilor Flores?
Can you tell us a little bit about what's going on now with auto thefts? Are they still, I mean, I know we saw a spike, and I'm wondering if we're still in that area and whether they've come down any.
For the time period from January to June of 2021, we had approximately 644 auto thefts. That same time period this year, we've had 612. It's about a 5% decrease. Nothing really statistically significant, to be honest with you. There's a couple different reasons, I think, for that. And I've discussed them at length. I don't know if you want me to discuss them again, but there are a lot of different reasons why I think the auto theft numbers are where they're at. They're at this rate across the state. I think we are number 4 in the country, last I heard, for auto thefts, not Pueblo, the state of Colorado. So it's a problem that's hitting our state and 3 others disproportionately, probably to other areas.
And as I understand, if somebody leaves their keys in a car, they're given a ticket, even if their car is stolen. As I understand that there's
Yes, sir. We started that.
citation called
Puffer.
unattended vehicle.
Yeah, it's called it's for shorthand, they call it puffing. It's a puffer statute. And starting in the winter, last winter, we started issuing citations to the victims of auto thefts for that. It's some people, and I can see the train of thought that it's not fair to the victim to issue them a ticket, but the amount of time and the resources that we have to expend to recover those vehicles when people leave them running, when they could simply drive their car and maybe in 2 blocks have it heated up. It's something we've taken a stance on because I think it'll help lower some of our auto thefts.
And it's only if the car is running that they get the citation. If they leave the keys on the seat or on the ashtray and the car isn't running, it's still an unattended vehicle, or is that?
No, it's got to be running is my understanding. I have to plead a little bit of ignorance. I've been a minute since I've written a ticket, but I think the vehicle has to be running in that set of scenarios for us to issue them a citation for the puffer statute.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Winner.
Vincente, did you get a ticket? Were you puffing?
So what she's referring to is I left my keys in my car at Loaf and Jug and it was stolen about 3 weeks ago. But I got it back within the night as it was driving away. And tell me if this is true, Chief Noller. I know in Denver, about 76% of the people whose car got stolen, there was found evidence of people living in there. So that's like a sign of homelessness and things like that. Is that also true for Pueblo?
I think what you're referring to is there's some applicability to that, but whether it's a homelessness issue or a bigger problem with illegal drugs, which is typically what we're seeing, because there's a significant, generally speaking, and it's kind of crazy. If your car gets stolen within about 24 hours, I've seen cars look like they've been lived in for months, and they will have an extraordinary amount of needles, foilies, other drug usage paraphernalia, and then a large amount sometimes of stolen items. That they steal stuff from retail stores and will throw it in the car, or they will take stuff from a vehicle they were living in, throw it in the new vehicle and ditch that other vehicle and move on. I don't think we see a high percentage of the homeless stealing cars. I think we see a high percentage of drug addicts and other low-level criminals that steal those cars, and then they also maybe perhaps live in them as they've stolen them.
And so as it was driving away, I also ran the numbers in my mind of how quick I was going to see my car. What is the turnaround that you all see?
I couldn't give you an average of how long it takes us to recover a vehicle, but I do know last I saw the numbers, we recover about 85% of the vehicles that are stolen.
And it's typically residents calling and saying, hey, there's a vehicle here. And
well, that, and increasingly we find people passed out behind the wheel from drug use in the vehicles, to the point where we've created special tactics. We come across it so often. We've created a special set of tactics that we use that I'd rather not go into great detail on, but that help us pin those vehicles in so we can take people into custody without them fleeing from us. Because that's the other issue, is a lot of times our cops will find those vehicles and they'll run from us, so we don't chase them because it's a property crime. There's not if there's a carjacking or something like that, that would be a little bit different. But so we've set up these special tactics so we can try to take these cars back into custody, recover them for the owner, and take the people that stole the car into custody and see if we can get them into jail.
Yeah. Thanks, Chief Noller, and thanks, Councilor Winter, for bringing that up.
Councilor Maestri.
So that was going to be my question. What is the consequence for if you pick up somebody that's stolen a car? Like you said, you take them into custody and you try to take them to jail. What is actually what happens there?
Well, I wish I had studied the auto theft law because it's changed substantially since I was a patrolman. But there's a value for where it's a misdemeanor crime to steal a car. And I don't know what that value range is. I don't believe it's the same as theft. I think it's higher. But there's value that's say a class 1 misdemeanor for the vehicle. Then there's a value of vehicle where it would be like a class 5 or class 6 felony, class 5 felony, et cetera, as the value of the vehicle goes up. Unfortunately, what we see, and I think what most agencies see, is that it's the lower end cars that are stole the most frequently. So it's the poor and the disadvantaged who are affected by that. And those individuals, generally speaking, have committed a class 1 misdemeanor. So we can't take them to jail.
Thank you.
Counselor Atencio?
Just real quick, Chief, remote start vehicles, they don't apply to pupping.
No, that's correct. You can use a remote starter.
Okay, call for the vote. Passes 6-0.
Item R7, public hearing, an ordinance calling a special municipal election to be held on November 8th, 2022, directing that the special municipal election be conducted as part of a coordinated election, adopting for use at this special municipal election at the requirements and procedures of the Uniform Election Code of 1992, except to the extent that the Uniform Election Code of 1992 conflicts with special provisions of the Charter of the City of Pueblo, and suspending for such purposes the Pueblo Election Code and all ordinances and resolutions of the city in conflict therewith, introduced July 11, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez.
May we have a staff report?
I'm delighted to offer the staff report on this item. Thank you, President Graham, City Council. This ordinance is calling the special municipal election for the city, as we do have items that staff wishes to put forward on this for the electors to vote on. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Passes 6-0.
Item R8, public hearing, an ordinance approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Pueblo, a municipal corporation, and the County of Pueblo, a political subdivision of the state of Colorado relating to the 2022 special municipal election, introduced July 11, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez.
May we have a staff report?
Happy to offer the staff report for this. President Graham, members of council. This is approving an intergovernmental agreement. We have the county run our elections in a coordinated election. It saves both jurisdictions money, saves all jurisdictions money, and it helps prevent us from needing to keep those supplies on hand, as well as keep our staffing levels lower.
This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none, anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Do we have a second? Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Passes 6-0.
Item R9, public hearing, an ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement for conveyance of real property between the City of Pueblo, a Colorado Municipal Corporation as buyer, and NeighborWorks Southern Colorado, a Colorado nonprofit corporation as seller, relating to the location of Fire Station Number 11 in the Pikes Peak Park subdivision, introduced July 11, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez.
May we have a staff report?
Yes. Madam President, members of council, I've asked Chief Huber to join me in this presentation. She has been looking ahead and realizes that the city, as it's growing and as it's currently configured, needs 4 new fire stations. So we have acquired 2 lots, I think, on East 4th Street. And we have the second would be near the Ilex interchange. We'll get that from CDOT. The third is already owned by the city, and this is the 4th station. Exactly 2 months ago, you approved a subdivision application filed by NeighborWorks for the Pikes Peak Park subdivision. That subdivision is about 80 acres. And it's a good site for our new Fire Station 11. and NeighborWorks. I think they're joining the call tonight. I think it would be beneficial for them as well to have a fire station adjacent to their development. So they're going to donate the property to the city. We've prepared a conveyance agreement, and this ordinance approves the conveyance agreement. And that's the legal half of staff report.
Thank you. Did you have some more to add?
Madam President, members of council, yes, this is a generous donation by NeighborWorks, and it's through their partnership that we're able to do this and put a needed fire station on the west side.
Great.
That concludes my report.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none. Anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none. Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
Any discussion? Okay. Call for the vote. Passes 6-0. Thank you, NeighborWorks.
Item R10, public hearing and ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to execute a paid internship site agreement between the Board of Governors of the Colorado State University System acting by and through the Colorado State University Pueblo and the City of Pueblo, a Colorado municipal corporation, introduced July 11, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez.
May we have a staff report?
President Graham, members of council, thanks for having me this evening. So we have hired an intern in my office through CSU Pueblo, and this agreement is allowing us to then sign off on his hours so that he can receive credit. Per city charter, I can't sign contracts. It has to be authorized by you. That is the staff report.
This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none. Anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none. Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Oh, did I do it again? It's getting late. Not really. Do we have a motion to approve? Do we have a second? Any other discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Passes 6-0.
Item R11, public hearing and ordinance amending the fiscal year 2022 staffing ordinance by adding one full-time position entitled Food Project Coordinator to authorize staffing of the mayor's office, introduced June 27, 2022 by Councilor Vicente Martinez Ortega, continued from the July 11, 2022 meeting.
May we have a staff report?
Yes, Madam President and City Council, this ordinance requests your approval to raise our current half-time coordinator to full-time during the grant period that expires on June 30th of 2025. It is fully grant funded then for the raise into a full-time from the Department of Law grant that was presented from the Colorado AG's office. That concludes staff's report, and I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none. Anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none. Do I have a motion to approve? Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote. Passes 6-0.
Item R12, public hearing and ordinance amending section 6-5-16 of chapter 5 of title 6 of the Pueblo Municipal Code relating to the fiscal year 2022 classification and pay plan by establishing the pay scale for the food project coordinator, introduced July 11, 2022 by Councilor Sarah Martinez.
May we have a staff report?
Yes, Madam President and City Council, as with all staffing ordinances, also requires the classification and pay scale. And this ordinance establishes the pay scale for the temporary period of the grant from the Department of Law that is to end on 6/30/2025 without some other modification of an additional grant. And that does conclude staff's report.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this ordinance? Seeing none. Anybody wishing to speak against this ordinance? Seeing none. Do I have a motion to approve? Do we have a second? Second. Any discussion? Call for the vote. Passes 6-0.
S1, a resolution authorizing payment from the council contingencies account in the 2022 general fund budget to United Way Pueblo County in the amount of $2,500 to support the Southern Colorado Youth Go program platform.
Thank you. I'll take this one. This was a request from Soko Yogo. We had them come and present to us earlier this year. This is the online platform where they have the QR codes posted at different small businesses in Pueblo, and kids can go out and scan them and they can earn points to receive treats. This financial assistance that they're asking for is for first year implementation, for promotions, and helping with their online program. This helps the youth ages 13 through 18, and it seems to be successful this far. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to? No. Okay. And do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the resolution.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Passes 6-0. And that concludes this meeting. If there's no further business, we are adjourned.